Virginia Cavaliers, a lot to be excited here if you're a Cavs fan. Head coach Tony Elliott back for his third season. He's 6-16 with Virginia during his tenure. The one season was cut short because they had that shooting. That's why the math doesn't add up on that 6-16. So he's 6-16 with his tenure with the team. This will be his third year. By far the best team he's had, though, since he took this job. This will be a true test of what direction Tony Elliott's taking this program. He's got both of his coordinators back. A ton of returning production here. 6th in the FBS in returning production. 16 returning starters for Virginia. Both quarterbacks are back, even though I'm pretty sure Calandria is going to be the starter, right?
Yeah, I mean that's like the one part of the team where I think it could be.
I like them both, honestly. The other kid's from Monmouth. Did you know that?
This is the way that like I looked at it. This is a program who is horrible at football, and the fact that there's even like a quarterback competition is great for this team. The days of Grayson Lambert sitting there and throwing for like 2,000 yards and like 11 interceptions a year, that's over. Like they actually have a competition at quarterback. That's how you know Virginia's a different team this year.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Calandria. I think he showed a little bit more last year, but if he, for whatever reason, gets hurt, Musket can play too. So like they're good at quarterback. They did lose their leading rusher, Paris Jones, but he only had 393 yards on the ground last year. The kid that's taken over as RB1 is named Kobe Pace. And I mean, he got 125 carries last year. They're good at running back, even though they lost their leading rusher. They did lose their star wide receiver, though. Malik Washington, 1,400 yards for the Cavs last year. He was a 6th-round pick on the Dolphins. You know that? He's on the Dolphins? I didn't know that until today when I looked. So Malik Washington's on the Dolphins now. But here's the thing. They added a few transfers at wide receiver. They got a kid, Chris Tyree Sr. from Notre Dame, who they like a lot. They also added 2 other transfers. So even though they lost their star receiver, plenty of weapons for Calandria to throw to here. And here it is. All 5 starters back on the offensive line for Virginia. All 5 starters on the offensive line. That's huge. So not really much to not like about this Virginia offense. There were times where it looked flat, but last year the offense was pretty good last year, and they pretty much brought everyone back. So Cavs offense, thumbs up.
Yeah, I like it. What you said with the O-line, they were really good run blocking last year. I think they're not going to get worse there, and I think they'll be better pass blocking too. They have to be. They were really bad at that last year, but I think they'll be fine. Quarterback also, can't say his last name, but the guy that you think is going to start runs better. Calandria, yeah, he runs better than Musket for sure.
Yeah,
so, he can move and scramble. So if they do have trouble there, they'll be fine. And Malachi Fields, the 800-yard receiver, he returns as well. So.
He's their wide receiver too? Fields?
Yeah, he was their wide receiver. They had a lot of... I didn't realize they had like 2 guys. They had 2 really good receivers last year for this team, which I guess shows on the quarterbacks too. So, yeah, they're returning a lot here. And they needed it. This coaching staff needed it badly. So to have that offense back, I think this is a team that will probably be carried by their offense, but it's going to be a really good unit.
Yeah, the defense doesn't look quite as good, although they are bringing back a lot of production. They only lost 1 starter on the defensive line. Everyone else is back on the D-line, including their 2 best pieces, or arguably their 2 best pieces. Carter and Bennett are their names, both back on the defensive line. Their top 2 linebackers are back. They did lose one of their starting linebackers from last year, but they brought in a transfer from Clemson, and they brought in another kid from Cincinnati. So 2 transfers in. Linebackers should be solid. Secondary is a little questionable. They lost 2 of their main DBs from last year, but their main guy, he led the team in tackles. He was first team all-conference last year. His name's Jonas Sanker. I believe he's a safety. He is back. So he's back, even though they lost 2 of their other main pieces in the secondary. And they brought in a transfer from Eastern Michigan who was a starter in the MAC last year. So secondary probably takes a small step backwards. But other than that, like, here's the thing. The defense, I'd say a small step forward from last year, but last year the defense wasn't good at all. So a small step forward from what?
Yeah. This team got ran on like crazy last year, and I think that'll improve. It has to improve. They were 120th in yards per carry. I mean, that you can't get much worse than that. But and the linebacker they brought in from Clemson. If you bring in a transfer from Clemson, I trust that player is very good, because linebackers from Clemson, they recruit those guys. Those guys are usually great. So I think this guy just wasn't getting the playing time. He wasn't playing much at all. So I think a clearly untapped talent there that didn't get the playing time. So I think he'll be good. I think the transfer from Eastern Michigan brings experience. That's big. Really, all you could say is much like their offense, they have a lot of experience on defense, but they have to perform better. I mean, they literally were getting run on like crazy. And in this conference, you don't want to go up against Cal or Syracuse or some of these teams with great running backs and get run all over because they will kill you.
So let's go to the schedule.
They don't play either of those teams, but there are still really good running backs there.
Cavaliers schedule. What the heck?
What a tougher non-conference than maybe they're used to.
Oh, hold on one second. For some reason, it brought up the basketball schedule. I was like, what the hell? All right, here we go. Obviously, win against Richmond at Wake Forest. They could win that.
Yeah, very winnable. The first two are very winnable.
Maryland, they can win that too.
Yeah, Maryland's a wild card. I haven't looked at them yet, but they have Billy Edwards, a quarterback they're very high on, but he's young, so I don't really love that team. They're too young, so I think they could win that.
I think they're 5-0, honestly.
I don't know if they're...
Boston College they'll probably be
No, it's going to Coastal that scares me.
They'll beat Coastal.
That's a tough place to play, dude.
They'll beat Coastal.
Okay, you got them 5-0. I'm going to go 4-1.
No, I'll say 4-1. They'll drop one of those games. Maybe exactly. Maryland, maybe Boston College. Louisville lost, Clemson lost, North Carolina lost at Pittsburgh. That's probably Narduzzi in November in Pittsburgh.
It gets really ugly. That's why it is. I mean, the later part after October.
Holy shit! 12, so if you're betting the over 4.5, you better hope they have 5 early because holy shit! You could argue they're losing the last 7 games of the year.
I don't think it's really that much of an argument. They're going to be heavily. Maybe they're going to be heavily.
I'm going over because I could see.
I would lean over too, honestly, and I don't even think that because of the first 5 games and that really the only game I think that they could lose is Maryland or Coastal, but those are still very winnable. So yeah, I go over as well.
I honestly think 6 is the ceiling, 4 is the floor, which points me to an over here. Over 4.5.
If they win 6 games, they should be doing backflips, all of them, because that means they upset somebody they should not be beating.
Next team,
maybe UNC. That's a tough one.
Next team up, Virginia Tech, another team that has a lot to be excited about, maybe even more so than Virginia. So head coach Brent Pry is back for his 3rd season. Last year, the team jumped from 3 wins to 7 wins. They won the Military Bowl.